At it again, and we have to talk about Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, because he recently made a couple of moves that the left absolutely hates, and they're losing their minds over it. And of course, y'all know I got the clips, baby, to show you guys a little bit of that. So before we get into the meat and potatoes of it, this is the first thing that he did. Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos wants more conservative opinion writers at paper. Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos has reportedly given the newspaper a mandate to add more conservative voices to its opinion section. Which I think, obviously, it's a good idea, right? You have half of this country is conservative, right? Or Republican. So you would think that there would be, an even amount of writers on both sides of the political aisle, although we know that's not the case. I think I saw a report that like over 90% of journalists are Democrats, which is crazy. But yeah, of course, the left, they're losing their minds because they don't like when things are fair, because obviously Democrats don't do well in a fair environment. But here is a clip of what the media, MSNBC specifically, had to say recently, because he made another decision as well with the Washington Post.
Fallout continues after the Washington Post announced it would not endorse a candidate for president. At least two members are resigning from its editorial board, and the Post publisher defended the decision, saying the paper was returning to its roots of not making presidential endorsements. But according to reports, it was owner Jeff Bezos who made the call. And tonight, Bezos wrote an op-ed in the Post saying Americans don't trust the media and that presidential endorsements actually create a perception of bias. He says ending them is a principled decision. Bezos went on to write this, quote, "I wish we had made the change earlier than we did, in a moment further from the election and the emotions around it. That was inadequate planning and not some intentional strategy. I would also like to be clear that no quid pro quo of any kind is at work here." Earlier today, before Bezos published that op-ed, I spoke with Marty Barron, the former executive editor for the paper. He's also the author of Collision of Power, Trump.
So, Jeff Bezos is correct. We don't trust the media anymore. I think I saw a report that said 70% of Americans don't trust mainstream media, and only 30% either somewhat trust or fully trust the media. 30%. And in that poll that I saw, it combined somewhat trust with fully trust to get that 30%. So when you have a situation like that and you're the owner, I don't know how much you paid for it, but I mean, obviously as a business guy, you want to make sure the business continues to run and thrive and function. And at its current level, where they're currently heading, they're heading for disaster. They're heading for a complete shutdown. And I said this yesterday when, in the Jake Tapper video with JD Vance. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. But, I said, I hope people like Jake Tapper continue to do what they're doing, because they're literally going to get themselves fired. Already 70% of America doesn't believe you. 70% of America thinks you're full of hot air. 70%. And that's only getting worse as time goes on. So as the ratings fall, you're out of a job. And people like me will replace people like Jake Tapper, because they're obviously clearly liars on national television, which is just crazy to me that they could just get on national television. This is the funny thing. Democrats always talk about misinformation and disinformation, but we see misinformation and disinformation from our mainstream media on a daily basis. So, like, what's up with that? It's crazy. It's honestly crazy. But let's continue on.
Look, I just, as someone who has been, seeking out endorsements from newspapers, and being a Republican in the DMV is not the easiest thing in the world. So you never expect the Washington Post to endorse you. But this act of cowardice to me is just reprehensible, because all the bravado and all the BS that you put out there, democracy dies in darkness. Well, baby, you just turned out the lights, Bezos. You just turned out the lights for the Washington Post, because you were so afraid that, oh my God, Donald Trump is going to drag us. Donald Trump is going to come after my business. Here's the deal. If you can't handle it, sell the paper. Because why did you own it in the first place if this is what you're going to do with it? Same with the LA Times. If you can't take that heat, then get out of that business, because it's not a business for you. You cannot bring that mindset. You don't have a journalistic mindset. You don't understand what the First Amendment means to the men and women who actually do that job every day. There's a reason why your newsroom right now is pissed off at you, dumb behind, because you're buckled. You put it on your masthead, and then you took it down because you're afraid of Donald Trump? I don't get what the hell everybody's afraid of this guy for. There are more of us willing to stand in the light so it doesn't go dark, and you're turning out the lights on your own newspaper. Go ahead. See what happens. Because he's still going to come after you if he wins.
More fear-mongering, of course, but that's what we expect from them. That's exactly what we expect. Oh, Trump is going to come after you. It's funny how they're mad that the Washington Post is choosing to stay neutral rather than lean to a side, which I believe mainstream media or news outlets, right, should remain neutral on all of this stuff. But when you're neutral, that means you're far right. According to these guys, right? If you're neutral, you're a far right extremist. It's crazy. It really is. Also, we got word of this right here. USA Today refuses to endorse Kamala after endorsing Biden in 2020, and none of them want to tie their brand to a losing candidate. That is hilarious. Oh, man. Yeah. So she is losing a lot of endorsements that would have come through before. But, I'm not surprised that mainstream media and leftists are losing their minds. They lose their minds about everything. I showed you guys this clip yesterday, but I'll show you the clip. Actually, I just showed a screenshot, but I'll show you the clip today. Check it out.
In the first half, what was said during halftime? Hey, all right, Nick Bosa in the first.
So if you didn't catch that, which it was a pretty bad quality video, but even on a good quality video, it's hard to see. Nick Bosa, who plays for the San Francisco 49ers, I believe he's a left end. He plays on the D-line, okay? Buckeye production, the Ohio State University, all right? It's the college he went to. I got to brag a little bit, Hey, okay? But he what do you call it? Photobombed the interview with his quarterback, Brock Purdy, and had on a MAGA hat, the white with the gold letters MAGA hat, which he should have wore the classic red, because that one's hard to see. Obviously, everybody knows what it was, but that one was really, really hard to see. Even like a good quality video, wouldn't show you everything. But, of course, people are losing their minds, comparing it to Kaepernick, because Kaepernick got kicked out of the NFL for a political stance, right? Which obviously both situations are completely different. Kaepernick absolutely sucked at that point. Was Kaepernick good at one point? Yeah. He had an NFL career and was pretty good at one point. I mean, he took the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. If I remember that Super Bowl correctly, they played against Ray Lewis in the Ravens. If I remember correctly, y'all can correct me in the comment section, but I believe that was against the Ravens in that Super Bowl, because that was the Super Bowl where like the lights cut off or something, if I remember correctly. But anyway, Kaepernick was good at one point, but he was trash at the time that he wanted to take this silly knee during the national anthem, which is also another problem. But we ain't gonna get into. We are gonna dive into that rabbit hole, right? But this happens to every single athlete. When you're more of a problem than you're worth, you get cut. When you're creating more controversy than plays that you make on the field of play, you're out of there. Like, that's just common sense. Every sports player knows that. You can't create more controversy than plays you make on the field. And he was creating more controversy than plays he was making on the field. Nick Bosa is an absolute animal. He's an animal. Like, what? He's not creating any type, well, to some folks, a little bit of controversy, but his play outweighs that little bit of controversy. So, no, he's not going to get cut, and it has nothing to do with race. That's just a fact. Like, duh. But, you know, it's funny how they bring up the fact that, you know, oh, well, I thought we couldn't do politics and sports, but nobody had anything to say about this guy endorsing someone.
Of tomorrow's vice presidential debates.
Easy.
Everything's political for French people.
It's all good. Obviously, supporting her is an honor. A sophisticated leader that I, expect and have confidence she can, lead our country and provide obviously hope, inspiration, unity. Obviously, there's a lot of tough conversations that need to be addressed in our country and a lot of progress.
I wonder if those same folks are advocating for Steph Curry to be kicked out of the NBA. Do you think they're saying it? No, of course not. Of course not. Because Steph Curry endorses their candidate of choice.
I've got a question for you. Why is it okay for Greg Popovich or Steve Kerr, Steph Curry, or so many other celebrities and public figures to come out and talk about their favorite political candidate, endorse a presidential candidate, and it just seems to be fine? But when Nick Bosa of the 49ers pokes his head in an interview after the game last night that NBC was doing with Brock Purdy with his Make America Great Again, so many people are up in arms. You know what? It's America. Get a freaking life. Vote for whoever you want. Support who you want. Why are people so bothered by that? Really? Is that a threat to you? Vote for who you want. I've never understood that, and I don't give a damn who you vote for. Vote for whomever you want. But if you're criticizing Bosa, I've got a message for you. Get a freaking life. And that's my rant for today.
Yeah, I agree. I forgot about, Greg Popovich, Steve Kerr, right? I believe Doc Rivers as well, all coming out and endorsing Democrat candidates, and nobody said anything. Nobody batted an eye at it. But Nick Bosa literally didn't even say anything. Just hopped on camera. Granted, it was on live TV, which is a great way to do it. Because, they can't just immediately cut the feed. Just hopped on the camera, showed the hat, didn't say anything, and left. Even in the post game, when he was asked about it, he just basically said, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but I feel like it's an important time. And that was it. Didn't go on like a long soliloquy, on a long speech about anything and everything. Nope. Didn't really say a whole lot. Just, nope. You saw the hat. I wore the hat. You saw the hat. That's the message. End of story. Done. But you got Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, right? Doc Rivers, Steph Curry, all giving speeches about who they support, and that's not a problem. Not a problem at all. But Nick Bosa hopping on camera just showing a hat is a major issue. Jeff Bezos saying, hey, we're not going to endorse anybody is a major issue. These folks, man, boy, I tell you, we got to win this. We got to win this because I can't take this any longer, man. The hypocrisy is just through the roof. And it's only going to get worse if they win. It will only get worse. Anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section. Peace and love. I'm out.